So I want to start off this video by prefacing that I don't think shiny hunting should be easy, right? It's supposed to be this task that only the non-faint of heart people can actually go for because it does take so much time. You have to put in hours upon hours, depending on the Pokemon game, doing certain things over and over and over again, and then you just sit there and you wait. You have a percentage chance, whether it be 1 in 325 or 1 in 2000, which is significantly worse for these shiny hunters depending on the game that you're using or the method that you are using. So it's not that shiny hunting is supposed to be particularly easy, but it gets to the point where it is so ridiculously hard, the odds of finding a shiny, or the method is so ridiculously bad that shiny hunting begins to be unfun. There's a difference between waiting 5 hours straight to find a Pokemon that is shiny and then accidentally killing it or not catching it, and waiting 24 hours to catch a Pokemon and then accidentally missing it, the Pokeball, or killing it. There's a big difference there, and once you actually end up doing that, the game becomes unfun, which is why I think the shiny hunting in Pokemon Sword and Shield is really bad. I want to talk about it in relation to the shiny hunting in Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, which I actually think is really good, but I also want to talk a bit about it as a standalone shiny hunting method and describing the methods that are used in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So I wanted to start off by talking about the actual method that you use in Pokemon Sword and Shield to catch shinies. So in this game, you are to catch shinies. In your Pokedex, it registers how many of a certain Pokemon species you've taken out or you've killed, basically. Every time you take one down with your I think it's in, if you catch one as well, the counter will go up in your Pokedex. And the thing about the method for this is that you are going to have to continuously over and over. You're trying to remember as high as possible. I'm not even sure if there's a limit. I think your percentages, I think it stops, maybe it's 500. One of those numbers is when the actual counter caps, when you have the highest percentage chance of a shiny, but that's killing over 500 of the same Pokemon species over and over. And if each battle with animations off takes about 15 seconds, that's hours and hours of just sitting there and taking out Pokemon, and that's only to increase your shiny rates. Obviously you're increasing them as you go, so you do have getting a higher percentage as you go along, but before that you're not even at them. You're just hunting down these Pokemon. You're not even actually waiting for that shiny to appear because you don't have full odds yet. You're not at the highest potential or highest maximum value that you can get for shiny Pokemon. So you're going to be sitting there for hours and hours on end, and then even then, if you don't have like the shiny charm, which most shiny hunters do, it's pretty much considered a necessity, especially in this game if you want to shiny hunt Pokemon, because it lowers the shiny hunting percentage from like 1 out of 435 or something to like 1 out of 200 or something like that. So it makes the odds a lot better. They still are pretty hard to get, but with this method, it makes it, without the shiny charm, it makes it nearly impossible to get a shiny. You either have to get very lucky, or you're going to end up sitting there for 6+ hours just looking for a shiny before you or just killing Pokemon to get that count up before you actually find the full odds for the shiny. And another problem with this method is that if you accidentally take out a Pokemon in the middle, it ruins that streak. So say you're after like the 4th hour of killing Piloswines, you're ending and you're like at something like 400 Piloswines or something like that. You're just sitting there, you're pretty bored, you're not super paying attention to the game, and you accidentally run into a Swablu and you're just mashing A and you accidentally take down the Swablu. Your 400 streak of Piloswines is completely ruined and you have to start all over again. I actually tried to shiny hunt a Bolton one day, and that happened to me where I accidentally ran into a different Pokemon and I wasn't really paying attention, and I mashed A and I ended up breaking the streak, which is why I think this method in general is just very tedious. I think it would be different if you're actually catching the Pokemon, but having the rates go all the way up to like 500 Pokemon and stuff like that, and even 100 is kind of crazy, because in this next part I wanted to talk about the actual method for shiny hunting in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which I think was multiple times better than the one in this one, and I actually think it is a really good method that they should use again. Basically, in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, what you would do is similar to this method, but definitely not as tedious and a lot more interactive, because in those games, when you had to throw a Pokeball, you would actually throw it with your arm, not just sitting there mashing a button. But what you would have to do for that is you would throw the Pokeball and you would catch 31 of the same Pokemon in a row. So it's like this. I did have a few problems with it, but they were kind of just annoying. You just need to be paying attention most of the time, because if the Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee ran away from you, or you failed to catch it and it ran away from you, or you caught another Pokemon, it would break your streak, so you'd have to start over, and so that was kind of tedious. But you only had to catch 31, and then you'd already be at the max increased rate of shinies. But that wasn't all. In this game, in Pokemon Sword and Shield, it only increases the rate of shinies of that specific Pokemon that you're going up against, which is why for every new Pokemon, you have to take out hundreds and hundreds of the same Pokemon over and over before you actually can shiny hunt it. Obviously, you can do the Masuda method, which is the egg hunting, but I've never really found egg hunting that really interesting, and I'm just talking about pure route shiny hunting. But when you use something that's not the Masuda method, you're sitting there for hours and upon hours of just taking out the same Pokemon over and over again, compared to in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where you would take out 31, and then all of the Pokemon in that area would have an increased shiny rate, and the Pokemon that you actually have the rate of would increase the shiny rate multiple times more than all of those Pokemon around. So you could be hunting a Rattata, and you could end up catching 31 straight Rattata, and then you would sit there and wait for the shiny Pokemon to appear, right? So it was kind of tedious, because you would just be sitting there waiting. But I think it's a lot better, especially because in Pokemon Sword and Shield, obviously you have the mix of Overworld Pokemon and Pokemon that can appear in the grass. But when you see the Overworld Pokemon, it's not going to be shiny in the Overworld, right? Which I think is really messed up. I think because you end up having to encounter every single regular looking Swablu in the Overworld, and then you would encounter it and it turns out to be a shiny, which doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they did this. Probably maybe because, I mean, they could just have ran out of time or not thought about it. But I really think they should have done that, because like if you're an actual Pokemon trainer or something like that, you're not going to see white Wooloo and then all of a sudden you encounter it and suddenly it's black, right? You're gonna see it as a shiny, and since they did that in Let's Go, I don't understand why they didn't do that in Sword and Shield. Obviously, with you probably can see that people are gonna say, oh, Sword and Shield was rushed. They were lazy with a lot of things, and I do agree with that. I'm just surprised they didn't even include that later in the game. I think that would probably be a menial task. It wouldn't take that much effort. But yeah, that's definitely another thing that I don't like about Sword and Shield, is that when you actually see the Pokemon, it's not shiny in the Overworld, which means you have to encounter every single one once you get the rates, rather than just sitting there waiting. Like if you were in a real Pokemon forest, you wouldn't just go run up to every single one and make sure that it's not black. You would be able to see, oh, this is a special Pokemon, and that was what was really interesting about doing it in Let's Go, is because in the midst of all these Pikachus, you might see a Pikachu that was slightly darker yellow, and it would have sparkles around it, and you'd be like, oh shoot, that's a shiny. But like I was saying earlier, the rates don't only go up for that single Pokemon like in Sword and Shield, they go up for a little bit for all the Pokemon around you. So you could be hunting that shiny Rattata like I was talking about, but then all of a sudden you see a green Ekans slithering around, and then you catch another shiny. And obviously once you catch the shiny, that resets your rates. But for example, I didn't have this recorded, but a few years ago when I was shiny hunting for, I think, a Psyduck, right under Cerulean City, I had the 31 Psyducks, and I was just sitting there waiting, and all of a sudden in the air a shiny Charizard appeared, and I actually ended up catching that. Stuff like that would be really interesting to see, especially in a game like this, when you have many more Pokemon than were in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Obviously you only had the original 151 plus Meltan and Melmetal, but in a game like Sword and Shield, where you have Pokemon walking animations similar to Let's Go Eevee, I'm just surprised they didn't include actual shiny rates for all the Pokemon around you. And I think that the method that they chose was really bad. Obviously you've had different methods all throughout the different Pokemon games. In most games before this, the only real method you could use to actually get shinies was to just get the shiny charm from completing your Pokedex and just soft reset over and over again, or do the safari mode in Pokemon X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, stuff like that. There have been different methods, but like I said, I really do think that Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee shiny hunting method was really intuitive. I liked it a lot more than this, plus it was a lot more applicable, and this comes back to what I said at the beginning of the video, where shiny hunting isn't necessarily supposed to be easy, right? You're not supposed to find a shiny every playthrough. It's like that one magical moment, you're just running around in the grass and all of a sudden a shiny appears, and that didn't really happen in Let's Go and Eevee, and I think that was what was really good, because it was really rare to see that Pokemon, but when you actually did see that Pokemon, you saw it in the wild. You didn't see it just like a regular Pokemon that you would never. And I think that that's another problem with the shiny huntings in this game, is because you actually have to and since they are overworld, I don't think this isn't a problem in any of the old Pokemon games, because there were no overworld Pokemon. They were all random encounters. But technically, you could be playing through the game, and I see this, and you see like a random Pokemon, like a Jinx, to the right of you, and you just keep running past it, and you're going down the route through your journey. And technically, in theory, that Jinx could have been a shiny that you just didn't encounter, because there was no indication that it was a shiny. There was no way you would have known that it was a shiny unless you accidentally encountered it. And I think that does take away from some of the interaction between the player and the world, because let's go Eevee and Pikachu, obviously you could miss shinies, right, if you're not paying attention, but the difference there is that there was an actual visual tell for the shiny being there. It was obviously the different color, and depending on the shiny you're getting, obviously it might be harder to tell between a Pikachu and a shiny Pikachu, because the color difference isn't that much. But when you have something like a Wooloo, obviously you're going to see a black Wooloo just walking around. It's going to be a lot different than it is in Sword and Shield, when you could be encountering a random Swablu or a random Wooloo, and you see it and it walks into you, and all of a sudden it's a shiny. That's really rare, right? That's great, but thousands and thousands of other players could have walked by that exact same shiny Wooloo, and obviously it's not the same in every game, but all these players could have walked past all these shinies that they could have potentially caught. And whether that be a shiny obviously in Sword and Shield, there are the dens, or the new dens in the Dynamax Adventures, which have I think it's like 1 in 25 shiny rate. Like, the shiny rates are very good for the dens. The only thing about that is that it's another tedious method. You have to get through the entire den again, over and over again, resetting, and that you actually end up getting the shiny. And if you're not playing with other people, if you're forced to play with CPUs, it becomes a lot harder, because there's always the chance that, especially like shiny hunting Zygarde, obviously I don't know if you guys heard about how hard that actual Dynamax den is. It's probably the hardest one, because after he gets below half health, he uses his core ability, which makes him go 100%, and he gains health again. So it's pretty hard to beat unless you have a really good team and really good CPUs, or you're playing with actual people that know what to do rather than just using defensive moves that don't do any damage. So that battle can be very hard. And what happens if you get that 1 in 25 chance, you go through the whole den and it ends up being a shiny, but you won't know. And like, this is another thing that doesn't really make any sense, is that obviously in the regular dens that you can find around the game in the wild areas, they show the shiny, right? They show the sparkles and everything. But in the Dynamax dens, you can't tell if it's a shiny until the end. So you can see this is another thing that doesn't make any sense. You can see the shiny animation. You can't see the shiny animation when you're actually battling it like a normal den. But once you go to the screen where you get to keep one Pokemon, you can actually see the shinies. So it doesn't really make sense that you would, because you could end up you could end up missing a shiny, which is why I recommend that when you do Dynamax Adventures, always catch every single Pokemon. And you can just use Pokeballs with it, because all the Pokemon have a 100% catch rate. But you never want to miss out on the chance that it is a shiny, which is another problem, which is probably the biggest problem I have with Sword and Shield, is that they have such a capacity, especially because we're on the same console as Let's Go. It's not like we're on like a weaker console or the game doesn't have as much power. This is the same console that Let's Go used to do all of these shiny hunting methods to show the Pokemon shiny in the overworld. They did it completely okay, and it was great in that game. But in this game, they just decided not to do that for some reason. Which I just don't understand. It makes the shiny hunting experience a lot worse, which is why I think you see, obviously lately with the Dynamax dens and the rates being 1 out of 25, obviously there have been a lot more shiny hunting streams, which I think is good. A lot of people are like, why would you shiny hunt? I just think it's like, it's a really cool thing to do, especially as a stream, because you're just sitting there and chilling, and obviously there will be some streams where you don't end up getting a shiny, and those days are kind of sad. But when you do actually get that shiny, it's a really, really cool moment where you're just really, really happy. You can sit there, and then there's those rare moments where you get a shiny right after another, or you get a random shiny running around the game. Like, stuff like that is what made the shiny hunting in Let's Go really good, and which is why the shiny hunting, when Let's Go came out, shiny hunting was one of the most popular activities. That was the first game I ever really attempted a shiny hunt. I've caught some shinies, like just playing through a regular game. I think the first ever shiny I got was playing X and Y. I was like replaying it randomly, and I was just going along around, and it was like a shiny Sandile. And I think it was when I was really, really young, so I didn't really know what to do, so I ended up killing it. I just thought it was a strange Sandile or whatever. But like stuff like that was fine in the old Pokemon games. But in these games where they seem to make it a priority that Pokemon do appear in the overworld, I just don't think it makes any sense for them to not animate the actual Pokemon being a shiny in the overworld. That was my biggest problem with the shiny hunting in this game, probably. I really hope that if they do end up doing Pokemon Let's Go Johto or whatever those games, Marill, Togepi, whatever they choose, if they do end up doing those games, I really hope they bring back the shiny hunting method, and that was in the original Let's Go games. This shiny hunting, this game's like you probably read in the title, it sucks. It's really bad. I attempted it once. I got bored after like 30 minutes of killing Boltons over and over again. I got to like 50 in like 30 minutes, so I wasn't even like a fifth of the way done with the actual to get the full odds. I didn't complete the shiny hunting. I didn't get the shiny charm because I still haven't completed the Pokedex, because I don't really have anybody to trade with or the time to actually trade all the Pokemon, which is another thing that I think they should fix, but that's for a different video. I don't like trade evolutions either, because you do need, especially on the Switch, because you do need Nintendo Switch Online to actually trade with people, so you're gonna have to pay extra money if you don't already have that service, and then you have to find somebody to actually trade with. So that's kind of annoying. But yeah, what do you guys think? Obviously, there are some shiny hunters that have persevered, and I do think that they deserve some respect for what they are doing. They are waiting there for hours upon hours upon hours through this terrible shiny hunting method. Obviously, like I said before, Masuda method isn't as bad, but I just don't like Masuda method. Egg hunting has never really been the thing for me, because you do have to get lots and lots of eggs, whether that be through people sending them to you or other means. I think traditional shiny hunting is a lot easier and a lot more accessible to the normal Pokemon, or I'll say casual Pokemon player. Somebody who isn't doing it, who just wants to shiny hunt on the side, which is why I think Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee Shiny Hunter was so good, because you could just pick up your Switch, catch 31 Pokemon, and you're just sitting on your couch, and then all of you can get a shiny in an hour or 2 hours. It wouldn't usually take as long as it is now, but it wasn't particularly easy either. They had the right mix of getting a shiny in an hour, and getting a shiny in 4 hours, or getting a shiny in 5 hours, or getting a shiny even in 6+ hours. But in Pokemon Sword and Shield, you're pretty much only gonna get a shiny every 7+ hours at the bare minimum, because that's killing all the Pokemon, and then you have to sit there and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And that is obviously only counting for the traditional things. Obviously, there aren't even ways. For example, if you're shiny hunting some of the new Regis in the Crown Tundra, that's obviously a more traditional method of just soft resetting over and over again. There aren't any ways to increase your odds of getting that shiny other than the shiny charm, which I think is interesting, because in Let's Go, obviously you didn't have as many legends. You only had the 3 birds and Mewtwo, and obviously that Mewtwo shiny hunt, obviously the rates were very low for those. So getting that shiny, people who got the shiny Mewtwo, huge props to them, because you have to soft reset a lot to get the shiny Mewtwo. It was a really big moment then. But yeah, what do you guys think about shiny hunting? I don't know how many of you guys actually participate in shiny hunting. I know a lot more people did it in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. Do you enjoy doing Masuda method? I think a lot of people do and a lot of people don't, but I'm interested to see what you guys think. And do you guys want the old shiny hunting method to come back, or are you guys fine with this one right now? Obviously this is my opinion, you guys are entitled to whatever you think, but I'd be willing to hear anybody out in the comments that thinks that this method is actually good. But that's all for today's rant. This is this kind of a rant talking video that I actually do enjoy making these types of videos, because I think that eventually the Pokemon Company hopefully will see some of these videos and actually take to some criticisms that people have had, obviously, about Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's kind of a meme at this point to hate on the game, because there are obviously lots of things that were rushed and aren't very good about the game. But I think when they actually realize that there are some valid criticisms of the game, especially in shiny hunting, which has its whole culture around it, a little subset of the Pokemon community that is the shiny hunting community. I think once they actually start to pay attention and realize that these people, they have some complaints about what they want, or they don't have complaints, I think they will finally take that into perspective and change some things, especially in the games to come up, like remakes if they come, or like I said before, the Let's Go Johto games. But that's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.